I'm here for quantlabs.net. Today in this video, I want to talk about high-paying jobs. Um, Back in the day when I started getting into launching my website, quantlabs.net, I've been approached by early adopters of high-frequency trading, which was the hot thing back then, and nobody knew about it. So back then and years after, for a few years, there were a lot of high-paying jobs and they paid out million plus. So here we are on September 13th, 2022, decade plus later. Do those jobs still exist? And they do. I'm going to put this link in the my blog. Now, first, I must tell you before you go out, I knew of a company, a recruiter in Chicago that paid probably more than this. And I'm pretty sure that people posted that recruiter online in various places. That same recruiter, I believe, still exists, but have gone offline. They'll come to you if they like what they see, probably via LinkedIn. So for public references, you won't find them. So there are recruiters that pay very well in the US, million plus, I'm sure, for these type of jobs I'm about to show you. But from the public perspective, these are probably the highest paying jobs for IT programming. Sounds like out there, at least for high frequency trading. So here in this article, has anyone seen my crypto wallet? They seem to be a recruiter, or maybe I'm wrong. But if you go down here to the bottom, this is for UK, so this is in British pounds. So let me pull up my currency converter. So we're going to do some math here. I'm going to use US dollar because that's where most of the people are coming from. So we're going to use British pounds just to get an idea of what these jobs do pay. And I don't think it'll make much difference between a Gibraltar pound. Maybe it might, I don't know, GBP and US dollars. So there you go. So it's about a buck 15 for US dollars. So usually it's a lot higher. But let's just take a look at some of these jobs. So these are the Java jobs. These are pretty good pay, 120. That's probably the higher range you get for, which is probably still lower than it's 140,000. You know, pretty probably not so demanding from a. So you can see here, quant developer, quant research team. So this is when you start seeing the big money. You got to have know your math on this. So this one pays fairly well at a quant prop shop, and let's see what kind of skills they're needing. Always, this is negotiable. So if they get some rock star from, let's say, MIT, and usually they won't put a lot of detail into the description, just do the purpose of protecting the company, so not revealing too much trade secrets. So they keep it very, very, very low level. So let's continue here. So strong Python, excellent C++. plus plus. That's a typical combination you'll get C++ plus plus and C or C++ plus plus in the back end. That's pretty standard. A lot of people ask, well, why don't they get rid of C++ plus plus with new languages like Rust and whatever else is out there? The reason they don't get rid of those languages is because they have such a large code base that they're not willing to risk um, just to replace it just for some hipster, young programmer thinking they're hot shot. So they're not willing to throw away all that code base done in C++ plus plus or even C. It's like saying if you look at the back end of a lot of the big banks, they have their system 76s, the old IT or tandem IT setup for the middleware. They will not toss those out just because they're mission critical, and they have no reason to as well. They'll probably pay those developers and maintainers probably well over in the millions. I'm sure you know about KDB, same idea as well for the database. So here, again, not much has been explained, but here's the key right here. Computer systems, computer science, or STEM from a top 20 university. I'm sure that's global as well. And, you know, that uh, probably is in the league of MIT, Stanford, and whatever other Harvard, whatever other top universities are out there. So this is where the key part is. You got to be rock solid in this. Algo development is pretty well everyone and their dog with a PhD does that. But you got to be really, really strong in math. But this is the real key that will separate the folks from the math to being whizzes in C++ at a lower OS level, latency. Basically, being bare metal is low latency and multi-threading. That is the key. If you're a master at that, you will be paid highly compensated. Now, because you're in a probably a smaller firm, this is combining both research and maintaining these systems at a, as I said, multi-threaded level. So, yeah, they have to pay really big to get these kind of rules. Now, I don't know where. Usually, these jobs are in Chicago. Um, yeah, this one's in New York. Okay, but a lot of them are in futures trading, options trading firms, which is usually in Chicago. So let's see what else we have. Okay, so there are some. So we have a 750,000. This one's quite big. Here you have up to 500K remote capabilities, which is rare. But again, this is just development. There's no quant math probably needed. Let's see that. Um, yeah, so even a bachelor's, so a guy like me with a bachelor's back in my day, really, we didn't, when we graduated, we weren't too concerned about getting a master's or even a PhD. Usually back then, when you got a PhD, you're going to probably be the kind of people that um, are doing a master's and then typically either going into government or education or academic, and usually smell bad as well. But there is that as well. So yeah, there's very little details here as usual. No suits, sensible. If that's no suits, where's this job? Let's see, New York. Is it New York? I bet you this is probably jump trading. Having that kind of message out, it's probably got to be jump trading because they're pretty low key. Bum 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 bum. Yeah, they don't even tell you where it is. So 33 applicants. Um, this is interesting to see who they hired through Durlston Partners, the recruiter. That's pretty interesting. So here we go. C++, passion for optimizing experience on highly distributed systems. That's the same thing as I said earlier, multi-threading. Uh, yeah. Low latency, but and then it gets even more is the ultra low latency. That's bare metal again and measured in single digit microseconds. So you'll be taken out back if your routine or whatever you're developing is not faster than 200 milliseconds or even a 5 millisecond. You'll still get taken out back to the woodshed. Not quite, just rhetorically, people. You will be part of an elite team. Interesting. ISO standard finalist, ICPC world finalist. So that's interesting. You got to be in these training competitions to get the attention. You got to be damn good in this. Working with quants and computer science to develop implement models for optimizing GPU and CPU. Very interesting. So now this is I haven't checked this in many years. So now they're looking at standard of the C++ 20 spec. That's quite interesting. No legacy technology. So I guess there's no C++ 11, 12, well, no, 11, 14, and all that. Use like most improved compilers and tools such as CMake. CMake in itself is glorious fun. I haven't really done a lot of C++ just because of the it's like if you want to stay single and have lonely Friday and Saturday nights, be my guest. I mean, I'm at my age, I want to have a life. I want to spend time with my little chihuahua. If that makes sense. Oh, and they say no suits, sensible hours, judged on output, not input. Yeah, that's good. So you better be good. So yeah, you're going to be looked upon coming out of the these schools that said the top 20 STEM schools, I guess. Judging from this, probably the same firm as the previous job. Um, so this is interesting. We encourage you to apply even if you may not currently fit all the requirements. So as long as you have proven academics and are willing to work hard to learn. That's pretty interesting. They're willing to train you because there's very few people like this. Um, so you'll be involved in distributed system data structure, algorithmic design, high level optimization, and low level. So there's going to be a Linux, probably even a Unix shop. Very interesting descriptions. So at the end of the day, that pays well. A lot of these job pay scales have come down um, because we're leading into a recession now. So there's going to be more layoffs. Not dime a dozen, but there's going to be more candidates for these type of jobs. As you can see, that had already 33 applicants. So, you know, it's not like just looking for the high paying jobs here. I mean, I've seen some very high paying jobs here. 450 head of market data. That's interesting. I'll take a look at that. But this one for sure seems to be the highest paying when you involve. Oh, I'm sorry. This one right here. Missed that one. So that's 600K. So let's see that. So that's 600 British pounds. No, not as much. Plus bonus. Now, depending upon that bonus, that could be a couple 100,000. Probably. Usually, if you look at what Goldman or some of the investment banks, your bonus can be really double up to double that. So you could be well over 1 million with this job. So this one's in UK. This is in British pounds. Let's check this one out. Same people. London, England. Let's see here. Depth. Oh, here we go. C++ 14 and later, but not required. So the salary is for 150 total compensation for juniors, closer to seven figures. There you go. So you're approaching that million plus. Interesting question would be if that's 1 million plus in British pounds, because let's figure that out. Now, if that's a case, then that job has got to be. So I'm going to assume, let's say, 1 million. So you're getting into 1.1 million for that. That's pretty impressive. That's the case. If you're a top dog in what you do, so here you go, ultra high throughput compiler kernel. So now you're getting into kernel development. You really got to know your C++. You can see here your network programming. Best place to practice for that sort of stuff, I would probably start looking at OpenBSD to play around in, because that's the kind of operating system I believe you'd probably be involved with. It's very secure, but at the same time, it's no bloat, and it's really stripped down. So if you know how to work on that kernel, or just better, Linux.org, download the kernel and have at it. Here's the problem: great communicator. So if you're from, whereas English is a second language, that might be a challenge for you. But I've seen some young guys, man. Or I should say, females now even are getting into this. So pretty impressive stuff out there. So let's see what we also have. I don't know what kind of firm this would be, but it's the same recruiter for leading HFT, hedge funds, and fintechs. This recruiter basically knows exactly their space. So let's do it. They have the best technology infrastructure in the industry, having invested hundreds of millions, and are always on the lookout for exceptional C++ engineers to help them push boundaries of what is possible in regard to optimization and latency. So they probably have their own kernel that they maintain and then deploy. And then on top of that, there'll be their programs, their processes, a better way to put it, because those processes for the trading are going to be probably part of the kernel. That's why they call it bare to the metal, right? C++ engineers, you will work on the toughest technical challenges related to modern. So C++ 17 and 20, trading technology in Linux. Interesting. They probably don't want to say Unix, but Unix, but you're going from Linux to Unix, there is some vast differences there. including the latency of components that helping the firm be market leaders in ultra competitive marketplace. So that probably means is latency of components. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be working off their own kernel. But if you want to get close, as I said, you just go to, let me just pull it up here. If you really want to get into this, I think you got to go, let me see if there's kernel .org, Linux kernel download. That's basically what you got to search for. Yeah, so kernel.org. So you download this, compile it, and go at it in a virtual environment. That's the best recommendation I could probably recommend for you because this is probably what these HFT firms where they started. Because the problem with Linux has got an extra bloat in there. I mean, compared to Windows, like you want the king of bloat, it's going to be Windows. If it's going to be the next level down, it's going to be Linux, right? But if you want to remove all that, you either can go into OpenBSD, or better yet, you want to strip down, as I said, bare to metal. You get your kernel running, you get your servers that you want to run, and use that kernel to boot off of on those servers. Not only that, but the servers are usually customized in an optimal hardware way, which I don't really know because I'm not a hardware person, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there on the hardware side know what they're doing. But the hardware folks probably say the same thing. They're not software developers, they're not kernel developers or any of that. So basically, how it works, where the definition stops for my working days, the hardware guys will say, flip on the switch, build the server, up comes the operating system or the OS, boom, they're done. Where the software folks come in, and I'm always saying, forget females are always out there doing this sort of work. The software folks are the ones that will get in and then start maintaining. Once they get that kernel booted up on those servers, that's when the C++, the C kicks in. All right, so there is that. So this is very interesting. Ultra high throughput compilers and kernels. So that's where you got to focus on. There's tons of books out there. I can't really recommend because I don't really get into it. I mean, back in the day, yeah, I was very interested in it, but when I look at 10 years ago to where I'm at now, to get properly paid, if you want to go down this career path and you're like a geek or a nerd and you enjoy working with these type of technologies, yeah, and you're young, like that's a key. You're either really young, where to go into one of these Ivy League schools, especially like a an MIT or some kind of really tech school that has the research for the technology. And then once you come out of that, you're top dog in what you do. There's no doubt on that. So we'll leave it at that. Very important. Now, as I said, for me, I'm more on the trading side because I can make probably a lot more on the trading side without blowing my head out. I can do the programming more importantly in Python for the maintenance and da da da, and I'm okay with that. So we'll leave it at that. Now, if you want to know more what I do, just come over to quantlabs.net/books. I get on my email list. I'm kind of posting more development stuff as well as I've gotten back on Windows. So who knows? I may even one day just out of for fun get into C++ on Windows and deploy it onto an environment like Linux because I know these jobs like they pay so much uh, out there that these are the publicly uh, these are the publicly jobs that are posted in the public. So there's the jobs like a housing market, off market, and they'll find you based upon your experience. If you post the good keywords on your LinkedIn profile, they'll find you. More importantly, about this post on LinkedIn, I want to say thanks to somebody close to me on Telegram. They know who they are. And without them, I wouldn't get these kind of posts and a lot of value from it, and then be able to, put my own spin on it and then post it as a video that you guys can eat up and like. Other than that, thanks for watching. Have a good day.